Okay, so street talk then. Yeah, I didn't think it was a great week. I didn't think it was that good.
Let's do talking about it first.
I don't want to talk about it right now. See, don't sigh at me. I can do things in whatever order I want. If we're saying our names in a different order at the beginning of the podcast today, I can say what I thought about it at the beginning. I just thought it was okay. I mean, we've been doing our street talk shorts this week. I've been giving it mostly bog standards. Today went down into a bobbins, but I think I need to raise the bar for getting a bobbins.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I think I'm not really going to give many bobbinses out, because this week it didn't particularly inspire me too much. I was just kind of watching it going, okay, this is happening. There's bits of stories here that I'm not interested in. There's bits here that are clearly filler and not that interesting filler. And the Stevens story, still, I'm wrestling with myself, because I don't know whether I actually like it, or I don't know whether I don't like it, or I don't know whether it's a case of I'm staying interested in it because I really want to like it, but there's something not quite right about it that's just not grabbing me. I don't know. I enjoyed that we had a bit more of the Max story today, but I guess that's more leading into next week possibly. But I don't know. I'm not going to get anything out of you though, am I yet? Opinion-wise.
No, I want to talk about what happened.
Well, we got 5 stories this week. We got the Carla storyline, which this week I'm calling LS Deceit. Because of Stephen being all deceptive and
LSD being in it.
Max sentence, 10 months, is going to come next. I'm bumping that up to second this time. We've also got the Sean... Well, no, I called it... See, my brain's just not been in the right place this week. I've written just Sean Paul here, like the rapper. But it wasn't really much to do with Sean either, really. It was about Paul and Billy.
Yep.
But it's that storyline anyway. Has he gone then? Is what I'm going to call the storyline about Zidane, who's possibly left the show now. I'm not really sure.
Right,
I guess we leave it 6 months to find out whether he's actually coming back again. And then the Flat Pack storyline, which is what I'm calling Brian in the Flat. Brian Packham, that is. Not impressed with those storyline titles? Well, I don't care. Gemma, I'm going to hand over to you to tell me what's been going on down Underworld Way this week.
So... last week we left everybody with the bombshell that Carla says that she owns all of the designs for Sarah and Michael's new fledgling company that Stephen's helping them with. We don't know what the company's called.
That hasn't been named yet on the show.
So that was a good idea. They didn't waste a brilliant name on this company. And Adam's trying to say, look, I think Carla's right here. It's probably correct that you guys don't have a leg to stand on. Why don't you use this as an opportunity to just go off on your own for once and for all, to cut all the ties and do something different. But Sarah's just very frustrated because she's only ever had one idea, and it wasn't even her idea, it was Michael's. And the idea was put words on t-shirts, which, you know, she could have...
Put words on big t-shirts and small t-shirts.
And she could have thought of that, really.
Yeah.
Carla finds Sarah in the cafe and she wants to make up with her, and she's like, look, let's let bygones be bygones, let's just move on. And Sarah's like, no, I'd rather eat a cold bowl of sick. And Roy's is fairly budget, but I don't think they do serve that.
No, gazpacho's sick.
Oh my gosh. Here's a question. Is it vegan, right? Say if you eat a bunch of vegan food and then you throw up, is it automatically not vegan anymore? It isn't, is it? Because it's animal products.
I don't need to trouble myself with such things.
Well, think about it, everybody. Write your answers in. Peter gets talking to Abby and Kevin about this trade-up thing because he's got this deadline for tonight to have turned his onion bhaji... Was it an onion bhaji? Yeah. Into a motorbike. And Abby's like, I know somebody who's got a motorbike. So, there you go.
That's handy, isn't it?
Sarah...
I'd say Peter, I don't think, didn't get the memo that this story should have really been long running and really going on for a whole year. He's like, 6... Why would you agree to do it in 6 weeks?
Peter got
ridiculous.
other things to do for the rest of the year or something?
Well, apparently, yeah. I mean, literally...
He's got his own set now. He can't be doing with this.
It was clearly impossible, and all it meant was that for him to just, you know, speed up the ending of it, there had to be a series of unlikely events that caused him to be able to have this motorbike by the end of the week.
Honestly, feel like it was a missed opportunity.
They didn't even have very much of it in the last 6 weeks, did they? They showed a little bit around the turn of the new year, And then it was like, oh, remember this storyline? Well, it's over now. It's literally, nothing could be easier than have something like this running for a whole year. It would have actually been really funny to have had it going on just a little bit in the background. We didn't even see how he got from his cheese grater to a tablet, did it? They couldn't even bother to show that. But
right.
oh well, they needed Peter to have a motorbike for what happened in tonight's episode. So
he could honestly, to be fair, this is a spoiler. Paul gets hit by a motorbike while he's on the motorbike, but it's stationary. So really, Peter could have been showing Paul his iPad, and they could have just been run over doing that, couldn't they?
Yeah. You could even say, look at the filter you can do on this app. It makes
you can make yourself have dog ears so that when you go missing, nobody knows what you look like.
Paul's got the unicorn filter all the way, I tell you.
What, when he opens his mouth and rainbows comes out?
Yeah.
Right, Sarah and Michael are together and she's like, draw some more ideas so we can go do another business. And he's like, no, I can't.
I've run out of ideas now. I can't
that
think
was
of
my
any
best
words
shot,
or
honestly.
colours.
I've done my applause app. I've done my word on t-shirts. I thought of doing it on hoodies, but it's too similar. I've gone back to work for Underworld. I can't afford to be out of work. Got to be paying bloody Gemma 35
He is
quid a
working
day.
on the design team as well now at Underworld. He's
Well, where's he going to sit now?
I know they've obviously got to just have to change the sales office to having a little design corner as well.
Well, he's mad.
One thing I did enjoy about this week's Coronation Street watching it is understanding where everything was in the factory. It really did help going to visit, didn't you think?
Yes, it really helps get your head
when we were taken around there on Monday, it's like, it all suddenly makes sense to me where there's a little bit where you sit and there's the office. I could not get my head around it before, but today all week I was just watching with that little sense of smugness about, I know where they are.
Yep, well, I know where they are too. Sarah's all petulant about it, but he's got mouths to feed. He's got to pay his mum and dad rent. Carla asks Stephen where they are with this Rufus deal, and she says, you need to get him on our side, because if you can't, then I'm going to reassess your value to the business. And if you do get him on side, then you'll get 15% commission and a permanent contract.
Ooh.
Why doesn't Stephen just tell Carla to shove her job up her arse?
He really wants this factory, doesn't he?
It seems like he thinks this is his only opportunity to make anything out of his life.
Well, he has been having a bit of a rough 6 months, hasn't he? And going from, to no job to pizza delivery boy to don't know what. So, but yeah, is his motivation just that she's been a bit mean to him over the last few weeks?
I don't. This just sticks in my craw so badly that this whole thing. I know I keep coming back to this. This whole thing revolves around him checking her spreadsheet at Christmas and going, you've done it all wrong. And her going, gosh, I can't live without you. And him going, great, I'll work with you. And then as soon as he steps foot inside the factory, she's like, who the hell do you think you are?
I know. I don't blame him for... Well, I mean, he's probably gone a little bit far this week.
With the
tea spiking and everything.
I'd say.
But
don't mess around with someone's tea.
She has been really awful to him. No wonder he's got his back up. So yeah, I guess does he just wants to be? Does he? What's more important to him, to be like a factory boss or to, get one over on Arsey Carla? We
don't have a clear motive for Stephen at the moment, unfortunately. He's treading water because before he was trying to pay back his wife.
Yeah. And
now he's paid her back.
I can't remember why he's hanging around in Weatherfield.
Why doesn't he just leave?
For the body to bob up in the canal again?
Do you not think we need him to? He just seems like he's just there because he's been told not to be there, and he's just been a stubborn arse.
Yeah. Tell you what, one reason why he's not leaving is because of this whole romance thing, which has gone absolutely nowhere recently. Is he supposed to be fancying Jenny or Elaine at the moment? I think it's maybe Jenny, but neither of those have made an appearance recently, have they?
He's just doing things, and it's not even in reaction to anything he's done before, is it? At the moment,
I think that having somebody like Jenny around this week could have helped elevate it a bit. Not just because Jenny Bradley makes any week better, but because of him having somebody to confide in and talk in.
Well,
and not that he's going to say, Jenny, I'm trying to drug Carlo.
This is what I want out of life now.
Yeah.
I want somebody to say, what are you here for, Stephen? Because he doesn't like his family very much.
No.
They're all going down a pan because of Max. Anyway. So, Stephen goes to see Rufus at the hotel lobby, and he's not interested in talking to him. He doesn't want his. I keep thinking words with numbers. It's not. It's t-shirts with words on. And so he's like, I'm gonna go and get rat-faced in my hotel room. And he signs a big, he gets a big order of beers, and he goes off, and Stephen sees his room number on a bill. Then we see Abby visiting Peter in his and Carla's new flat set.
Lovely.
Which
also
we saw
visited
on Monday
Very nice.
before anyone else saw it on screen. So how about that? Pretty cool. Yeah, don't line up for autographs. We'll be giving them out with Patreon. Yeah, she visits in and says, look, I found a motorbike. Somebody at the garage turned up half an hour ago, wanted to sell one. And Peter's like, have you not been watching my part of the show? I'm doing trades. I'm not buying it. I don't want to cheat. I've got to trade it for an iPad. And I was like,
surely someone's got to want to do that.
I was like, this storyline is okay. All right. Well, I guess I've been in dumber ones myself, so I'll let you get on with it. Here's the number, and she leaves. Stephen goes up to Rufus's room in the hotel. He's got his booze. Rufus is feeling a bit chill now, isn't he? Because he's drugged up and boozing. Lets him in. And Stephen gives him a sales pitch, and he's like...
Not a football pitch.
Not a trouser pitch.
What's a trouser pitch?
You can work it out for yourself.
I see.
So Stephen's like, brilliant, I've got this contract here, you just have to sign it. And he's like, no, let's go do some drugs.
We're not doing our very best Rufus accents here because...
What does he sound like?
Oh my gosh, I don't want to have some business with you. I want to go and have some drugs up my nose in the back room.
Do you want a nice bit of Charlie up your snozzle?
Who said that the person playing me is Welsh? I'm definitely not Welsh.
That's
I'm
a dirty
proper Cockney,
rumour.
I am.
So he goes into the other room, and
Stephen's there just fondling drugs in his Rufus's briefcase.
And then Rufus comes out of the bathroom going, oh my God, I think I'm having a heart attack.
Well, he's been there sniffing drugs very noisily in the back room, hasn't he? Like, honestly, it was like he's just going...
He's scaring the cat, Michael.
Sorry, cat. Sorry, I'm all right. Yeah, and then he comes out doing the most unconvincing Coronation Street heart attack since Mike Scott in the hospital car park. I had flashbacks.
So, next we see Peter with trying to buy this bike off this dodgy bloke outside of the...
Called Ben with 2 N's. Straight hot on heel of Phil with 2 L's. We had Ben with 2 N's. So don't know what's next.
Peter with 2 R's.
Peter.
He's an old Navy friend. Right, so Peter's like, look, I know...
Peter behind you.
So...
It's tickled me.
Silly.
Gotta find some sort of entertainment in this week's episode.
Gotta make our own jokes, haven't we? Right, we have fun. Okay, so... Peter's saying
Mary quality, that one.
Peter's telling Ben, look, I don't know if you've watched Corrie before, but I'm trying to trade an onion bhaji for a motorbike.
And it all makes sense if you watch the show, honestly, mate.
It's actually a really good story. Have you ever heard of the paperclip guy? And the guy's like, look, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not taking an iPad and an onion bhaji, and he's like, no, it's all right. I'm on a tablet now. I've got this broken tablet. It's probably worth about £4. I tried to take it round to Bargalanza and they told me to get Ben. Right, so the police are hanging around. Are we going to be able to get through this?
Oh my God.
Right, so the police are sniffing around the end of the...
Sorry, I'm in a funny mood now.
I know you are. So... The police pull up and Jess gets out and Ben panics. He takes the tablet and he runs away, basically. And Jess walks up and says, this is stolen. Officer Jess, Craigie's
Tell you what,
friend.
the actress who plays Officer
like
Jess,
her.
she must be counting her blessings because she's been on this show for like 5 or 6 years now.
She's been on it longer than Zidane.
Yeah, she's probably got a higher
more
episode count,
consistently than Zidane has been on it. So, so she says, this motorbike's actually been nicked, so you got to come down the station with me. Back to the hotel, Rufus is comatose in a stretcher, and Stephen's trying to grab his little limp hands and get him to sign the contract, and the paramedics are saying, it's not the time now, we can't be doing business, he could die at any minute. Can you please...
I felt bad for Rufus there. The paramedic was very blunt. Like, Rufus was very much...
Rufus
he was
like,
very conscious
am I going to be
at this
okay?
point.
And they're like, no,
being
you
told
could die.
he could drop dead at any
We've
second.
got to get you immediately to the hospital. You can't sign anything.
Talk about bedside manner, honestly.
So they say to Stephen, can you call Rufus's wife? We'll take him to the hospital. We'll meet there. Stephen roots around in Rufus's briefcase trying to find a signature he can forge, but he has a go at it. He's no good at it. Then a woman knocks on the door, and it's a cool girl called Candice, and she thinks he's Rufus, and she's like, let's get this show on the road, shall we? And Stephen says, no, I'm actually a legit businessman, and I do not do naughty shenanigans with ladies.
Do you think this was
that I have to pay for.
Do you think this was ex-Coronation Street character Candice?
Well, I saw somebody say
times?
that could it be Candice?
I think she's probably a little bit young for it to be Candice Stowe, but
well,
I don't know.
Did she look like she was a budding weather girl to you?
Weather girl.
She wanted to be a weather girl, didn't she, Candice?
She did.
Remember?
She went off to be
she went off to be a thingy with a quote.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
There's all kinds of different dreams she had.
Anyway, it's not her.
It's not her. So she's
one of
getting
Leanne's mates, probably.
She's getting annoyed and going, "You've got to pay me. I need £100. I'm going to tell my boss of you. I'm going to wake him up." And Stephen's like, "Don't worry,
did you
I've got an
skip the bit
idea."
earlier
Because I'm going to
about
go
Sarah
back
and
now,
Adam? Oh,
if you
sorry.
don't mind.
Yeah, go on.
So Jess, meanwhile, is talking to Peter about this story about the motorbike, and he's going, "No, listen, I had an onion bhaji, then I had a... What did I have then? Then I had a pen. Then I had a cheese grater. I tried to swap that for a sieve, no good.
Yeah.
Then I swapped it for a few other things that was too boring for the TV show. Then I've got this crack screen iPad,
That
and
should
now
be
I've
the
got a
latest
motorbike."
Coronation Street online spin-off, shouldn't it?
Swapping.
Yeah, it's
trades.
Yeah, it's swapping stuff.
Peter is trades.
Yeah.
So she's like, okay, all right. She says this bloke's been nicking stuff. I don't know. Sarah and Adam are in the lawyer's office.
Abby went up and didn't they? Abby and
Oh
Kevin
yeah, Abby's
said,
like, I think
it's nicked.
I like the way she was like, "Hey,
didn't do it.
Peter, I've got this great motorbike for you." And then when he finally gets it, she's like, "Yeah, it was stolen." So, Peter and Adam in the lawyer's office. She's like, "I can't believe Carla wants me to apologise to her. No way, I'm never going to grovel." And Adam says, "Oh, if you do go back to work for her, then maybe we can have a baby," which is the weirdest pre-Valentine's Day way to ask for a shag I've ever heard of in my life.
Don't know what happened to Valentine's Day on Coronation Street this week. Far be it from me to complain about Coronation Street's 3-day week structure. I'm sure I never usually do that, but they did say on Monday's episode, it's Valentine's Day tomorrow. On Wednesday's episode, it was supposedly the next day. It wasn't Valentine's Day. What was going on there then?
At the police station, Jess is like, "Here you go, Peter, have your tablet back." There's this weird lady. There's a lady, and she was like made the most of her part I've ever seen somebody who's only been one episode of Coronation Street,
and maybe
ever
will
before.
only ever be again.
She was great. She just gave it 100%, didn't she?
She's just sitting down there going,
intensely
listening.
staring at him,
what
like,
are they talking about over there?
she's intensely looking and watching and hearing him talk about this fascinating
stars of tomorrow today.
motorbike trade. And then we'll find out in a minute that...
I can't wait.
We'll find out in a minute, I'll tell you then. Oh, you have to wait. You'll have to wait. Right, Rufus is in hospital, and he is still trying to get him to sign his contract, and Rufus is like, no. Stephen's still trying to get Rufus to sign the contract. Rufus is like, no, I don't want to. You're dodgy. And Stephen says, you better sign this, or I'm going to tell your wife about the drugs and the lady. And then he gets this message that Candice has kindly recorded saying, "Oh, Rufus, you dirty dog." She's turned into the caramel bunny.
Yeah.
Cadbury's caramel bunny. "Oh, you dirty dog.
Dirty
That
dog,
was so
Rufus.
good. Ooh, are.
See you next time, we
Ooh,
love
I
her.
love you." So he's like, "Oh dear," says Rufus. "What shall I do now?" Michael and Sarah are in the cafe, and she's talking about the dilemma of not wanting to have a baby with Adam now because she's got so many ambitions. And Michael says, "You've got to talk to... I don't know what you're telling me about this. You've got to talk to Adam." Then we go back to the police station
We're jumping
where
around all
Peter
characters today, aren't
is
we?
being confronted by the wife of the motorbike's original owner, who is a cheating bastard. And so she's like, you have this motorbike, it'll teach him a lesson, and it would also be a funny end to the story, which everyone can't wait
Would it though?
For the end of it. And he says, great, thanks very much.
So that was literally the end of Peter's trading sequence then. It made so much sense at the beginning, and it just felt like at the end it's like
somebody...
Oh, this isn't going to work, is it? We've got a deadline here, but we do want him to have a motorbike.
They didn't need to have a deadline. If I had a choice between a year of summer, falling over and having diabetes and squirting stuff. Listen, if I had a choice, or Peter trading things, I'd rather have Peter trading things. We know that they can, once they get their teeth into a story, they can just never let go of it. But for some reason, this one, they were like, no, we're chicking out here. This is too much of an issue storyline for us to tackle. We don't think Coronation Street's the right platform for this trading storyline.
I don't know whether you actually could trade an onion bargee for a motorbike.
You could. I bet you could.
Do you reckon?
Somebody start a blog.
They just literally didn't try. What?
Of course you could. You could not get... I tell you what you couldn't get.
You couldn't get a tablet for a motorbike.
You couldn't get a cheese grater and turn it into an iPad.
Well, no. There's some missing
links there.
But it was just so silly. Like
it wasn't. It was a great idea, but they didn't give it the time that it needed.
It was a stupid. Why did Why did the woman even give him the motorbike in the end to get one over on her husband?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. She didn't look like she was exactly dripping in bling. Surely she could have maybe sold her husband's motorbike. Like, she just wanted to get rid of it so badly.
Yeah.
I bet she woke up regretting it the next morning. I think somebody's been sticking LSD in her tea, to be honest. Rubbish, it's stupid.
Okay, alright. Sarah goes back to the factory to apologise to Carla for everything, and Carla accepts her apology. And then Peter comes to the factory with his new bike. It's like, look at this. Now I've won our bet. You owe me a leather jacket. So they go to the pub, and Peter's like, yeah, I'm gonna get a sidecar so we can be like Wallace and Gromit. No.
That was funny.
Like the Two Fat Ladies. That's a better reference. Stephen comes in and says...
It's a better reference because you've been watching Two Fat Ladies recently and not Wallace and Gromit.
I'm on series 2 now. They do wonderful things with Rabbit. Really? I've got all the cookbooks now. I've got like 4 Two Fat Lady cookbooks.
Very good.
Thank you. You bought them.
How very nice of you. Was that my Valentine's Day present for you? Yeah.
Right, so Stephen comes in. I've got the contract. And Carla's like, oh, good. Don't mess with me. For some reason. On Wednesday, Peter's like, yay, we've got a new set, so I'm going to cover it with greasy motorbike things in an homage to Frank and Thingy Barlow in the first episode.
Oh yeah, Frank
getting
and David.
all their cogs out all over the parlour.
Their what?
Their cogs out. Get your cogs out for the lads. So Carla's not impressed with this, and Peter says, well, let's go and get my jacket. And she says, no, I can't, I'm busy, I'm doing a management reshuffle at work. And she goes off to the factory where Stephen's already there. He's bringing people... He's brought everyone a collection of empty cups.
I know they do like to have their empty cups on Coronation Street, but like...
It was
an empty paper or cardboard cup, wasn't it? It went clock down on the desk. It's like, there's nothing in that, is there? Come on. But I suppose you don't become a rich businessman by filling your cups with coffee, do you?
He's like, everyone, look, you can put coffee in this. Here you go. So... Carla calls Stephen and Sarah into the office and says, right, Sarah, you're getting your old job back, doing the Rufus account, and Stephen, you are the Pam Beasley of the office. You're basically the office manager. You got to fill up the paper in the printer. You've got to make sure the biscuit tin's got biscuits in it.
Very, very crucially for this week, make lots and lots of tea.
Make all the tea, please. And Steve's like, what the hell what have I done to deserve this? How could you? And she says, I offered you commission and a permanent contract. There you go. Bada bim, bada boom. And Stephen's fuming.
Don't say bin, it gives me PTSD.
Bada bing, bada boom, bada canal. Stephen's fuming, and he's like, right, I'm going to take you to the employment tribunal. And she's like, no, don't think so. You've been dodgy. And also, I don't even know if you got a visa, actually.
Honestly, with the way that Carla has been treating Stephen recently, I don't blame him.
She should be murdered.
I don't blame... Like, she's got to come in. Not that I,
don't
endorse
agree with it.
what he has done, of course.
Can't.
But in Soapland, I kind of think that he's got a reason for this.
Who's the most...
I wish that I could feel bad for Carla. Like, when she's going off on one and tripping around and everything at the end of the week, I was just thinking, I have got no sympathy for you. You've been at a cow for the last few months.
She had it coming.
She did.
She had it coming. She only had herself.
What happened next?
Sarah finds Stephen in the cafe, and she's like, "Oh gosh, what a bitch! She's just being a bitch. It's just Carla all over for you. It's just a power play. She's gonna need you to be in a management role." And then for some reason she starts going on about mental health again and saying that she had psychosis. And it's like, oh, it's a matter of time. Any moment she could go, and she needs you around. I don't know what her plan was before Stephen turned up last year. So Stephen starts voggling psychosis symptoms. And then back in the factory, we see that he's got this vial of LSD that he had originally found
from
Rufus's briefcase. I want to know what else is it. What else do you think was in Rufus's briefcase?
Well, there was a little packet of cocaine in there
as
well.
There's like coke, LSD. There's probably handcuffs.
There's probably an old 60s DVD Coronation Street collection, because I found those pretty addictive, yeah.
Oh.
No?
Interesting. Anyway, so in the bake room, Michael catches Sarah lying to Adam over the phone about where she is, and she says to Michael that he doesn't know I've got my job back. I don't want to let him know I've got. Okay, that makes total sense, Sarah, because she doesn't want to have a baby with him, so she's like, "I'll just pretend I don't have a job." Okay. Later on, Stephen makes Carla some tea and he puts some LSD in it, and she comes out of the break room. She's like, "Oh, we'll come over all funny." And the worker's looking at her. She looks a bit worse for wear, to be honest. And so Stephen takes everyone to the pub for drinks and crisps, and he really sneakily puts LSD right in front of everybody, but he doesn't get caught. He's so sneaky. He puts it in her wine.
He's being a bit brazen. He's going to get himself caught if he's not careful.
So Carla's struggling, and Peter comes in, and he sees how bad she looks, and he says, "You shouldn't be having any more of this wine. How much have you had already?" And Carla's like, "Oh gosh, I don't know what's going on." Stephen's like, "Oh gosh, she looks like she's got psychosis again, just like you were saying. How funny." Peter says, "Carla, you better come home." And she starts getting paranoid, and she's kind of terse with people, and she's thinking that everybody is having a go at her and things.
This was her thing before, wasn't it? When she had her mental breakdown,
people whispering and stuff.
She thought that people were having. Yeah, spying in on her and putting satellites in her ears.
There was that. Was it her at the scene?
Yeah, in the Guinness.
Where she was. Yeah, she was in the villain's alley, and everybody was walking past, staring at her.
Yeah.
So, also, she leaves, and Sarah goes to take her wine and drink it, and Stephen manages to knock it over so that she doesn't get to drink it. So that was quite clever of him. Evil. So Adam comes in and sees everybody enjoying drinks together, and she and Sarah have a chat, and he says, "Look, let's give it 6 months and then we'll try and have a baby." Stephen sneaks into the factory and deletes the meeting from Carla's calendar, and he also shreds some important paperwork too, so that to gaslight her. And then he catches up with Peter outside the factory and says, "Oh, I'm really worried about Carla. She's got such a short fuse." And Peter says no, she's fine. She's probably a bit stressed out, but it's just a blip. But back at home, Carla's telling Peter that she feels really weird and her head feels like it weighs a ton. She feels disjointed. And he says, "You just overdone it at the factory. You need to take your foot off the gas. We don't want any more psychosis."
She tells him that she can see shapes, doesn't she? The last line of the episode was something like, "Oh, I can see shapes. Oh, that one looks like Ken," which was a weird way to end it. We all know what shape Ken is. Square.
On Friday at work, Stephen's still talking about how he's worried about Carla to Sarah, and Sarah's like, "Yeah, that other storyline which she was in about mental health was completely different to this, so she's going to be fine." Peter's got his leather jacket. He's parading around, showing off to Carla, saying, don't go to work today. And she says, no, I've got an important meeting. And then she looks at her phone. She says, oh, it's not there anymore. Okay, well, I still have other important things to do. So at the factory, Stephen puts a few more drops of LSD in Carla's tea, takes it over to her and reminds her that she told him that Dick Havisham meeting was cancelled. And she's like, I don't remember saying that. Then we get some wobbly-wibbly, timey-wimey camera effects from Carla's perspective as the LSD begins to work. And then she gets a phone call from Mr. Havisham going, what the hell are you doing? Where are you? Get to this meeting.
What Carla was seeing then when she was looking at her tablet and getting the case in the wibbly wobblers was very much like what I had when I had my migraine the other day at Costa. So I'm thinking, I think I might have been drugged in Costa.
I think you probably were.
Maybe.
Yeah. So Mr. she rushes off. Sarah's starting to worry and says we should really stop her, and Stephen says no, we should stay here. Then we get Paul.
You enjoying this? You're running out of steam. Go on.
Paul is very impressed by Peter's bike outside of
Prima
Donna. And he's like, oh, I love bikes, mate. Oh, it's really good. Oh, does it go fast?
I've always loved bikes. It's been my lifelong dream to have a bike.
Always wanted to have one of these. And Peter's like, you should have had one in Bargy then, shouldn't you? You just need a bit of ambition, you lazy layabout. Peter says, oh, I'll let you have a go on the back. And he's like, oh, brilliant. I'll just stay here and have a go on it. Brum, brum, yay. Imagine me driving through the streets of Weatherfield without a care in the world. I can't wait to get going on this. Just going to sit here for 5 minutes. Then Carla goes to get her car. This is how long Paul is sitting on the back of this bike, just going, brum, brum, yay. Carla goes to see Abby because her car's been in the garage. And Abby says, I think you're funny, aren't you? Or have you had are you on drugs?
Carla's talking about the wheels spinning around.
She's like, are those tyres going round and around? And Abby's like, no, they're not attached to anything. You shouldn't be driving. I'm not going to let you take the car. And Carla's like, oh, you can't tell me what to do. This is my car. It's none of your business. Give me the keys. And Abby says, no, you're not having them. I'm not letting you take it. So Carla turns around and she sees the Underworld van. And she manages to get Kurt to give her the keys. She gets behind the wheel. Stephen, Sarah and Abby all rush up to the window. It's like, no, Carla, you can't drive. You're crazy. And she's like, no, off I go, zooming along. She sees some traffic cones at the end of Coronation Street on Rosamond Street. She's like, oh, shiny lights, quickly dodge them, drive, fast. And she drives straight into Paul, who's still sitting there going, yay, brum, brum, wish I had a helmet because this could be dangerous. He gets knocked on the floor, doesn't he? Mm. He knocks his noggin. And everyone rushes to help him. He just lies there with the bike on top of him, just like Audrey did. And Carla's like, oh no, I don't know what's happened. And Paul seems a bit okay, but Stephen's completely shell-shocked. So they take her back to the flat. And Stephen, Peter and Carla are all arguing over this meeting and what's happened and why she was driving and how she drove into Paul and what's happening. And seems like, oh, I didn't know the meeting was cancelled, and trying to make her feel like she doesn't know what's going on.
He's gone, because earlier on in the episode, he's the one that told her yesterday, I told you the meeting was cancelled,
exactly.
And now he's saying, you never told...
I never said that.
So she's making her
I swear you do that to
things.
Me. Stephen joins Billy and Paul in the hospital, and he says, you need to know something about Carla. So they go to the flat to confront her because they've been told by Stephen that she wasn't well. And Billy's like, oh, do you think you shouldn't have driven over Paul? Do you think you shouldn't have gone behind the wheel? Why did you do it? People want to help you. You shouldn't have got behind the wheel. And Peter's like, get out. I don't know what you think you're talking to her about, you horrible. Get out. So Peter and Carla have a little heart-to-heart. And she's like, no, I'm not psychotic. I don't feel the same as I used to. I do feel weird. I do feel disconnected. But it really doesn't feel like a repeat of my psychosis. And Peter says, look, your health comes first. Before that flaming factory, it's just a business. You need to take a back seat, quite literally. So Carla shows up at the factory and tells Stephen, I'm going to take a step back from running the place. You and Sarah are in charge. And he's like, oh, great. My plan worked perfectly. And she's like, what?
Yeah, through all those very convenient circumstances that happened this week.
Well, Carla's like, you can be in charge of the factory. I'm just going to go home and just take all the money because I get paid no matter what I do anyway.
That's a very good point, actually. If you
own the company,
yeah,
the profits are yours, aren't they?
Yeah. So,
yes,
a lot then did happen this week, I suppose. Almost too fast. So at the beginning, we had a broken tablet, Carla in charge.
What are you going to moan about?
No, I'm just saying, sometimes I moan about a variety of things. Sometimes I moan about not much happening, and we're definitely in a different place now than we were at the beginning. I've said all I need to say about Peter's trade up being tragically cut short, but the drugs thing, yeah, that's gone pretty quick. What were your kind of thoughts on Stephen turning to narcotics to have his way with Carla? That sounds ruder than it meant to be.
It was all very convenient that he found out that she had a mental health crisis before, and that some of the symptoms are similar to having a bad trip on LSD. I feel sorry for Carla because she could have had a good trip, couldn't she? There's lots of different effects of LSD.
Yeah, but I was looking into this earlier this week, and apparently, and maybe this is the same webpage that the Coronation Street people came up with.
I'm sure they haven't tried it themselves. They wouldn't know.
It says apparently if you've got mental health problems or a history of mental health problems in your family, then taking LSD could make them worse. And so that's very very helpful that's what the drugs that just managed to land themselves in Stephen's lap. But it was quite convenient because I don't know how many people usually just come across Class A drugs just as part of their daily life, just in case, which is exactly what you need to be able to get one over your enemy.
Just a soap coincidence.
But
so obviously because of her circumstances and her predisposition and the fact that she wasn't expecting to take it, it was an incredibly frightening experience for Carla.
Yeah, it just kind of. I was doing a bit of reading about LSD and what it's supposed to do, and because it's just one of it's proper hallucinogenic, makes to mellow you out, make you feel woozy, and apparently it kind of feeds off your imagination.
Yeah.
So it talks about different people experiencing different things. Depends how imaginative you are, basically.
I don't think Carla's got an imagination. Do you? She's like, I imagine money.
That's probably why it didn't affect her too badly, because I was expecting there to be a few more kind of dancing elephants.
Well, she was
and
paranoid and anxious and freaking out.
Yeah, but it was. I don't know. I didn't know whether it was odd that nobody questioned. Was she drugged or anything?
I would be very surprised that she suddenly out of nowhere started acting that way.
Because it really did come out of nowhere, didn't it?
She wasn't worried about anything.
No, I mean, all the factory stuff had been quite
dramatic.
For her recently. She has been saying, because we've complained about it, that she's been struggling with management on her own there, which is why she needed people like Jacob to hold a hand at meetings and everything. But it did go very quickly from one thing to another. But maybe that's what it's like if you've got mental health problems and they can just come out of nowhere. I don't know. But
yes,
yeah, it just felt like things moved a little bit too fast and conveniently. Stephen is playing a very, very dangerous game, isn't he? Like, the other thing that I read about this is if you're caught with LSD, you can get 7 years imprisonment or something.
God.
So, he's brazenly just dropping it in
What, if
cups
you've just
of tea.
got it for yourself?
I think so.
Oh, I don't really. I wouldn't.
They don't just.
I wouldn't get any of that then.
No, I wouldn't. It's pretty hardcore stuff.
It's naughty.
And I don't know whether he's looked into this,
kids.
but maybe not worth the risk. Although it worked in the end, and it only took two drinks, was it, that were spiked? Very handy that she decided after 2 little trips that's it. She's taken a back seat again. I don't know, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's next for this story now, because he's got pretty much everything he wants, doesn't he?
Well, yeah. What does he want?
What does he want?
He wants to make money, and he wants to have a girlfriend, but that's what everybody wants, kind of.
It also
and
feels...
he doesn't need to be here to do it.
It also feels like the whole covering up a murder side of the storyline is being sidelined a little bit.
Yeah, he's
It's
not worried about that at all. He's like, yeah, I've got away with that one.
I mean, I'm not saying that I want every serial killer storyline to be a carbon copy of the rest, but it just feels to me like it's a little bit muddled about what Stephen's motivations are at the moment.
Yes,
is
honestly.
this a serial killer storyline? Is this I want to take over and be the boss of the factory storyline? Is this a bit of a romance with Jenny and Elaine? I don't really know.
This is it's an amalgamation between the John Stape story and the Richard Hillman story, because Richard Hillman was always trying to make money and provide for the family, wasn't he? And business deals just went wrong and he ended up pushing people in holes. Yeah. And John Stape was just a series of unfortunate events that ended up with lots of people just dying by accident. Yeah. Because he's an idiot. Whereas this is the two things combined, because Stephen's just killing people to cover up killing people and then trying to do business deals. But it's not related.
It's like he doesn't care anymore that he's killed 2 people. Or maybe just because he thinks he's got away with it, he's just on to his next nefarious move. But I'm definitely feeling a bit of the Stephen overkill. I'm hoping that this calms down a little bit.
I thought. But
I don't think it will. But I kind of need it to, because it's
we just need a proper focus for him.
Yeah, and I either need to have some like real serious danger and risk of him getting caught, or I'd really quite like to see him kind of crowing and feeling all kind of smug and satisfied with himself. There's not been any ha ha ha, I've got away with it. So no, he's not. He just like it's one hurdle after the next.
One thing I wanted to say about the similarity between Stephen and Richard Hillman is that we've had Stephen drug Carla to make her think that she had psychosis. And Richard Hillman made everyone think that Audrey had Alzheimer's disease. If you remember?
That was because Audrey suspected him of nefariousness.
But you see how it's a kind of similar thing where they are doing something similar with him.
Yeah. Nobody's suspicious of Stephen yet. Maybe the storyline needs that. I don't know.
Yeah, some nemesis.
Yeah. He's just kind of bumbling along and nobody's really paying any attention to him at the moment.
Wouldn't it be magnificent if he just got away with everything? He just killed a few more people and then he just disappears and no one ever knows any different except for the viewers.
Yeah, maybe.
Why not?
Maybe. Anything? What else?
Oh, there was a funny bit when Abby comes to see Peter and tells him about the motorbike, and when Carla comes in, they're both in the flat, and then Carla comes in and she sees Peter and Abby are there together, and she's like, "What's going on here?" And they don't tell her because it's a secret, because Peter's supposed to be swapping this bike, not buying it. So Abby covers and says, "Oh, Peter was trying to seduce me, but I was having none of it." And then she just walks off without explaining herself at all. And Peter and Carla are like, "Okay."
I think that was my favourite bit of the week. Actually, I thought that was.
See, that's the sort of thing I miss from older Corrie. I think that people would make more silly, sarcastic jokes like that in the old days,
rather than over the top silliness.
Rather than like, "Oh, I got the wrong word here," or
I wouldn't have pegged Abby as being the first person to have a scene in the new flat set.
No, that's true.
But it was a very nice flat set. We talk about it more on the
yes.
On the
if you'd like to see some
week.
behind the scenes video and pictures of their new flat, please head to our YouTube
I've seen
channel.
a few people a bit confused about where this flat is, and although we call it a new flat, it's only a new flat in that
it's not been on screen.
It's not been on screen. They've redecorated since the last time anyone was seen in there, and even though they moved into it, I don't know, let's say 6 months ago, we've not seen any of them in there at all, but it's still just the one that's above streetcars, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Liz's old flat.
So do you have any idea about where you'd like this storyline to go next? Because it feels like it's going to go on forever. But
I feel like this is going to spin its wheels for a little bit, and we're not going to have any developments for a while. I think they're going to take them off the back burner.
I kind of hope so. But what I don't want is to have Carla kind of spiraling downwards again. Although, I mean, if she's not being drugged, if she's not having a steady supply of LSD, is she just going to kind of be fine now, or has this triggered something that's now going to, you know, take on a mind of its own, and then it'll be back to more mental health Carla again?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that was the point. I don't think it's not supposed to be trivialising mental health. It's not supposed to be making any comment whatsoever on it. It is just literally Stephen's way of getting rid of her, and it only really would have worked on Carla, because anybody else would have just gone, that was bloody weird. I don't know what happened there.
Do you think he's going to try and kill her next? If she comes back to work the next day and says, I don't know what came over me yesterday. What, me telling you to take over the factory? That's the other thing as well. Like, to go from you're going to have a permanent contract to now you're just going to be the tea boy to now I want you in charge of the whole factory again. She's just got no, you know, she needs to make up her mind and stick with it. Well, I don't know. So my kind of thoughts on this storyline this week are just like, it's okay. And I'd be happy for it to take a back seat.
I want to say that I had my MRI results.
Oh.
And I got a letter that says that there is no problem with my brain.
So that's what Carla needs.
Yeah.
She needs a letter saying
I'm
there's
going
nothing
to
wrong
get it
with her brain.
framed. The doctor says, no evidence of any problem with your brain. So that is something I can have as a certificate to prove if anybody thinks there's something wrong with me. And I know some people listening think there are, but there's not officially NHS endorsed brain problem free.
See, I was wondering whether Carla, after the accident in the van, was going to end up going to hospital and then having found out that she had drugs in her system.
I don't think they would
just
test you for drugs.
I guess not, but apparently it stays in your system for up to 3 days. So maybe Monday's episode.
Maybe they would have done. Maybe they would have been, you know, because I mean Abby is a drugs user, and she has been around people who've been on things, and she immediately recognised something was up with Carla. And you'd think that A&E doctors would have similar radars and would have gone, test her for everything.
Yeah, she just kind of got away with it, really, didn't she?
She did get away with it. Stephen got away with it.
Yeah, he probably did. Right, let's move on to the next story, because I don't feel like we're contributing much to the discussion on this one now.
With Paul getting locked on his bike, it reminded me a bit of what happened with Alya when she got blown up and stabbed. And I was like, no one was hurt, it's fine.
He was like, he was
lying on the floor, shaking.
Back and forth to the hospital in the case of about half an hour, yeah.
He never got to go on the back of the bike either. He was so excited.
Do you think that that's going to be it for the bike now? Is this whole trading sequence just for this?
She should have broken it before she bought the bloody leather jacket.
Okay, let's do the Max sentence story.
Do you think he can swap a broken bike for a working tablet?
Maybe he's just going to go back to the beginning and somebody's going to give him an onion bhaji for it, yeah. Right, Max sentence then. So this is just Wednesday and Friday's
It wasn't, it was episodes. Min sentence.
He did get a fairly min sentence for it, didn't he? 10 months for everything that he did. Blimey, count himself lucky. So David, the story's kind of about him at the beginning, isn't it? And he's still working himself hard about how he can get Max off.
Oh, David is, yeah.
Yeah, family doesn't seem to be supporting him.
No.
Gail says, really. You never know. Maybe the judge will go easy on him. I felt like we didn't see hide nor hair of Gail or Audrey in today's episode. When David went off to the court saying, my family aren't supporting me, what a bunch of asses they are. There was no Gail, Audrey, Nick, Leanne, nobody. This child is up in court.
I know.
Where were they?
They're all going, I'm not taking sides.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
You kind of have to take a side when it's your family.
It's one thing saying I'm not going to cough up for this mega solicitor to defend you, but to not even go along to the hearing. Honestly,
yeah, I know, they were really crap. That's probably why the judge gave him hardly any time. He's like, well, your mum was stabbed, your family's crap.
I mean, also, you get characters thrown into the episode sometimes just to get the actor's episode count up. Like Debbie Webster, for example, was a perfect example of this.
Being in the cafe.
Was this? Yeah, she was in the cafe saying, I think that should be sent down. And then she had a random scene in the second half of the episode saying, look at my lovely haircut. and then that's Sue Devaney collecting her paycheck for the end of the for February, and that's all she has to do. But why not just say, let's stick Gail and Audrey in this? They don't even have to say anything.
You don't know why. Whenever there's something...
Sometimes there is reasons, I'm sure, but they were very notable by their absence. There's always some reason.
Everybody who works on the show biting their
Yeah,
tongue,
but I mean, it was in the dialogue with David saying, "Oh, my family don't want to come," so it seems like it was planned. I don't know. It just felt very odd them not being.
It wasn't consistent with what they'd previously said, was it?
I don't think so. Anyway, so David's working himself hard. Everyone's being horrible to him about his terrorist son. Well, Bernie is anyway, and Debbie, like we just said. Maria says that she'll go to the court with David tomorrow if he needs it. But, oh no, Liam's got a class assembly because apparently not half term in Weatherfield.
Oh, Debbie's also there to say that David should have known.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you should have known that your son was a terrorist. And in the salon later, Gary says, "Look, I don't know why you always seem to be taking Max's side here." She says, "Well,
Gary says to Maria."
Yeah, that's what I said. She says Max was groomed. It's not his fault. David couldn't have watched his internet 24/7. And Gary's like, I don't think so, because Gary's still, he's pretty knocked off at Max, isn't he?
Well,
and they agree to disagree.
He's not impressed because he's saying to Maria, "Well, we had a kid living with us. She tried to elope. I found out about it because I looked on the internet. Saw what she was looking at."
Yeah, looking at the getting agreement. Yeah, exactly. So Audrey's talking to Maria about this at the end of the episodes, and she says, "Look, you go and tell David he needs to start looking after himself better because he's not listening to me."
Maybe he's worried, Ord, because none of his family's supporting him.
So that was kind of it for Wednesday.
And his blooming wife's down in London teaching Lily how to kick a ball against a wall.
Her time must be up soon. How long is it supposed to be? 6 weeks she was away? Do
you think Lily knows everything there is to know?
She is a genius footballer.
I think she
knows all the football.
No, they're like having trouble with understanding that the half time you swap directions for goal.
Well, she is a girl, isn't she?
Offside roll, don't know what that means.
So Friday, Maria wants David. She wishes David luck on his way to court, and this is when he says, "Oh, the rest of my family don't care; they're not coming with me." So he goes over to see Max before the sentencing happens. And he's there sitting with his cheapy lawyer, who's saying, "Well, maybe he won't get a prison sentence. He was groomed and he pled guilty after all, so maybe things will look. The judge will be lenient on him." And Max is just determined to stay in prison, isn't he? Despite the fact that he's clearly getting bullied there, which is another kind of, here we go again with that storyline. He's just like, he's being a bit virtuous, isn't he? Like, no.
I deserve everything.
Hung, drawn and quartering is too good for me, Max.
I should be burned in that ball thing that they used to have in ancient Greece.
Yeah. So they go to the court and there's David there, Spider's there, also seemingly to get his episode count up for the year because he contributes nothing. Gary and Darian are there as well. And then we get to see, this is like, I thought that Toya's court case was pretty short, but this is even quicker, wasn't it? So prosecution's there painting a pretty damning picture of Max's actions and defence, and then he pushes for the max sentence. And then we have the defence lady come up and says, "Oh, Max has had such a troubled childhood. Oh, his mum was stabbed. Oh, his house fell into a sinkhole. And
his mum was shot. His stepmom was shot in a box. Oh, his mum was pushed downstairs by his dad when he was a kid, and then he got pushed down the stairs by his
Be lenient,
his
Judge.
teacher.
I beg thee." So it's time for his sentence.
He also cut his leg the other year. Remember that?
He did. Yeah, it was horrible. He's had a harsh time as Max. So the judge says,
he didn't get a date to the ball.
The judge says that Blake, the other stabby boy, has said that it's definitely Max's fault. His actions were clearly linked to Max's videos.
This just feels like bollocks to me. Like,
stop saying rude words.
Well, he made me do it, and then the court just uncritically accepts that as the reason why you've done something.
Yeah, but Max is pleading guilty. He's kind of saying, it's a fair cop, it was me.
But my question is then, is that reflected in Blake's sentencing? Can Blake go, "Oh, he made me do it"?
I don't think we get to find out what happened to Blake.
Do you know what I'm saying? It kind of makes Blake less culpable.
I think the actor who plays Blake has said
that he didn't watch a video.
No. I think he said that he's not going to be in it anymore. I think he's filmed his last scenes, so he's not going to be in the prison scenes with Max.
Well, they wouldn't put them together. Why would they put all the terrorists together in a little group so they can all do more terrorist
Very
things?
good point.
You wouldn't need to make a video. You just tell him what you think.
Anyway, so he gets 10 months custodial. Minus 21 days because he's already been
minus 21 days
because
you're sad.
He's going to serve at least half of it. So, we could be looking for maybe 5 months for Max at the moment.
All this prison maths makes me laugh so much. They always go, right, we give you 100 days. You were already here. So take that 42 off. Then if you're good, we'll divide it in half. Then if you do make me a paper mache ashtray, you can have 4 days off. Also, I remember you said your mum got shot. Take 3 days off for that. Stepmum got shot in a box. We'll take you 10 minutes off of that for that one. Gail, your grandma's a bit scatty. Okay, 30 seconds off for that.
Looks like you get to go home now and I have to come and stay with you.
Yeah, let's all go round your house. You can make us a cup of tea and we'll call it quits.
Well, you say that, but it was all very harrowing when Alan Bradley was let out of prison a lot earlier than... did you remember? He got found guilty, but then he'd already served his time, so he went home to terrorise Rita some more.
That's
how you do
I
a
can't
good prison
swear, can I?
storyline.
What a nasty man.
Yes. So anyway, Gary's a bit miffed there because he was hoping that Max would get the book thrown at him, and Darian says, "Oh, he got what he deserved," because Darian's very
wise.
Very wise man. So David goes to see Max before he's taken away, and he's like, "I promise I'll visit you all the time, and so Shona and Lily when they get back." And Max is like,
Don't
"Prefer
bother.
it if you didn't actually." And they have a hug, and David tells him he loves him, and then he goes back to the street, drowns his sorrows in the pub, and have a sip with Maria, who says, "Look, I know you're feeling down because Max doesn't want to see you anymore, but you just got to be there for him when he comes out, and it'll all be fine."
Look on the bright side. You can get when Max comes out. You can get a job in Timpson's. Timpson's.
Why in Timpson's?
The guy who owns Timpson's, which is in this country a key cutting and shoe repair place. He employs people that have been in prison. It's really good. It really seem like really decent employers. So there you go. Bright new future for Max cutting keys for people.
Well, there we go. Got that all sorted out for him. But anyway, he's got bullies in prison. We get to see one final scene where it's
to go to school
like a
in prison.
classroom.
It's like double prison.
And there's two people. They're
like, "Oh, we don't like terrorists around here."
He thought he got into prison to escape the bullies, but it turns out that it's just as bad.
I'm obviously a twisted person and this isn't real, but I'd be quite impressed if I was in prison with a terrorist. Would you be like, makes a change from all the stabbings and the drug dealers? Don't you think? It's a bit unusual and kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, anyone can go around nicking stuff. Being in there for terrorism is quite the thing.
I don't need to see this story.
I don't want to see it.
I don't know whether we're going to. I mean, the fact that they've got that little classroom set up makes me think that maybe they will show it.
Well, listener Rebecca pointed out that Daniel has a job teaching in prison.
Yeah, but I don't think it's that one. I think that would be
weird.
Little bits too convenient. If it turns out that, next lesson Daniel walks in and says, "So class, I'm your new teacher." I don't think that's going to happen.
We're going to learn about what not to do with making videos on YouTube. Just imagine if Max had monetized that video.
Yeah, but I don't think he's got thousands of subscribers.
What?
He could.
You've got to work harder on it, don't you?
So
you
Max
could have done some YouTube shorts.
Max had been looking up, sort of facing 15 years originally, hadn't he? Do you think that was just thrown out there as a bit of a mega cliffhanger for 3 weeks ago? And
I've already said my
not
thoughts
really.
On
10
what
months.
I think about this as a crime. I just feel it's really nebulous. I would love to listen in on an actual court case about this to understand how they collect the evidence. But I felt the same way about the coercion storyline and about how Jeff was, how Yasmin got off. So I just feel like crimes feel different from when we were a kid. It's like, did you stab him? No, I didn't. Someone saw you do it. Right, you're going to prison. Whereas now it's like, well, you made a video that somebody else watched and then they did something and said it was your fault. So you're going...
Wasn't Max's lawyer trying to claim that his videos weren't inciting violence when it was literally there saying go around with your sledgehammer and crush these cockroaches? Yeah, that's what you get when you get a cheap lawyer in it. Anyway, so today's episode did what it needed to do in terms of this storyline. They had to have him sent down. He's not going to prison for very long, and things are still tough for David.
Though, is he still harbouring his racist views? Because previously he was very he was. It seems like he's flipped a little bit, because previously he was like, I didn't want anyone to get stabbed, but I still don't think that I was wrong when I made those videos. I still feel as though immigrants are ruining the country and British people should. And I can't help but think that being in prison, he might be surrounded with more people who feel the same way as he does than he would do on the outside of prison.
Yeah, I
without
wonder
wishing to stereotype.
Yeah, well, I wonder what it'd be like if
I think a lot of people
locked up with
in prison hold problematic views against minorities and women.
Well, I wonder whether it'd be interesting if some of his, if he had a cellmate that was of an ethnic minority, and would he realise that he's all right, really?
Well, he's already had Darian. If he couldn't see the humanity in Darian and sympathise with his plight of why he's come to the UK, then he's not going to get along with anybody, is he? Because Darian's like the most perfect little angel boy with the saddest backstory you can imagine. Yeah. And where's his brother?
Yeah.
I'm sure, I really feel as though this storyline is going to have Max in prison for a bit. He's going to be even more downtrodden, and he's going to radicalise himself even more. He's going to get out. There's going to be a bigger, explosive showdown, and Darian is going to be in mortal danger. And I want Darian's brother to turn up.
That'd be an interesting twist if his spell in this rehabilitation centre ends up churning him out even more racist than he ever was.
I'm sure they try their best and they have good intentions, but I cannot see how it's impossible for that to happen.
Well, I think it's just going to be a way of saying, and now the story is over and he's out and people are shunning him for a bit, and then he probably saves the day somehow, and then everything's back to how it used to be.
Swaps a motorbike for an onion bhaji and saves Speed Dial because they were one short for their big order.
Right, that's it for that story. I just wanted to put that second because I thought it was going to be fairly big, but, well, Max is in prison. Right, what are you going to do?
I'll tell you what happened with Paul and a bit of Sean as well.
It's the gay dads again, everybody. Woo!
Don't forget that Sean was supposed to be going on holiday with his lovely boyfriend Lawrence, but because of his conniving friends, Eileen and Todd, who told him that he was going to murder him and push him off a mountain, he didn't go in the end.
I do remember that.
So on Monday, Sean is moping over the pictures of Lawrence enjoying his hiking expedition, and Dylan's there. I don't know why. Sean finds Todd in speed dial.
Dylan pinches Sean's phone because he's moping about his pictures, and he's drowning his sorrows and going, "Oh, look at this! Here's Lawrence on the internet. Oh, Lawrence, I miss you." And Dylan's like, "Oh, let me take your phone, then that'll solve that problem."
If only Sean had a motorbike swap to Peter, he could have got an iPad to mope over instead.
Yeah.
Sean finds Todd in speed dial at lunch, and Todd says, "Sorry about Lawrence," and Sean says, "I don't blame you." He orders a curry and he's going to come back later, and then Sean and Todd end up just spending the time together at home, and Todd says that he's definitely over Billy now. That's good, really, because Paul and Billy start getting closer together.
They do.
During this week. On Wednesday, Dee Dee is going off to work. So her and Paul, don't forget, live in the flat above Dev's.
Yeah, Daniel's old flat.
Yeah, so they live together, and she's like, right, me and you going out later, Paul, because I'm a fun-loving chick and you're my friend. Summer tells Paul that she's got a conditional offer from Manchester University. Hooray! And Billy invites Paul out for a drink later because they've not had a night out.
So we get to keep Summer on the show?
I know.
Oh, how charming.
They've not had a night out together in ages, and Paul says to Dee Dee, can we switch nights? Can we go to the pub instead? And she's not impressed, but she agrees. And then when they go to the pub, Dee Dee can see that Paul is distracted, And he waves at Billy when he and Summer comes in, and Dee Dee realises that he's rearranged them going out so that he can see Billy in the pub and he fancies him. So they all share a drink together, and Dee Dee heads off, leaving them together. And Todd comes in, and he's a massive gooseberry. He gives Summer flowers, and to one side, Billy admits to Paul that Todd has let him down when he shoved Mike the other week. And he's mad at him, and then...
What did you look at me like that for?
Because I forgot what happened.
Paul's the one that shoved Mike, didn't he? He pushed him onto the steps, and Todd took the rap for him.
Oh, yeah.
So I think I'm right in saying that Billy still thinks that it was Todd who did it, because Billy's still saying, oh, yeah, I can't trust Todd. I'm glad that you're so honest and you would never push Mike over onto a step, Paul. And Paul's like, ooh.
Yeah, I would never do that.
I kind of did it.
At the end of the evening...
So Billy's going to find that out, and drama.
Paul and Dee Dee talk about what happened, and Paul says that he and Billy are better off as mates, and he doesn't want to go out with him, and Todd's a better person than Billy realises. So on Friday, Billy is having a hangover, and good job he doesn't have anything important to do, isn't it? Todd tells him it's great that things seem to be working out between him and Paul, and Billy's like, oh, I had a naughty dream about him. Oh, I think I fancy him. So Billy goes to see Paul at the yard, because don't forget, Paul is a burly builder man. And he says, I've got feelings for somebody, and it's you! And Paul says, I just want to be your friend. I don't want to be your lover. And Billy's like, oh no, and runs away. Todd finds Billy having a mope about in the pub, and then Glenda says, oh, you should go on a dating app. Then after the motorbike... Sorry.
So boring.
No. After the motorbike incident, Gemma rushes to the hospital with Billy, and they go to see poor Paul. They take him back to the flat, and Billy says, oh, this has made me think I want to ask you again if there's any hope. And they start having a big old snog. It's just like watching episode 3 of The Last of Us. But then...
I'm sure this is going to get wall-to-wall acclaim.
It's going to get an Emmy.
Yeah.
Paul gets cold feet. He says he can't do it, and he runs off.
Oh,
it's a good job he didn't hurt his leg, isn't it?
So is Paul just pushing Billy away because he knows that he is actually a dastardly pusher? Does he actually fancy Billy? Probably. Who wouldn't? He's so dashing. I can't think of any other particular reason why he's... Can you?
Who? What?
Paul.
What's the question?
Paul.
Tell me the question again.
Does Paul...
Yes.
Why does he not want to act out Billy's dirty dreams?
Yeah, why?
Is it?
I'm
saying, is it because he feels
why?
guilty about lying to him about being the mic pusher?
Is that really that's the most boring reason, honestly.
This whole thing.
No, I don't mind it
Did Corey
too
not
much.
get the memo? Was it a year ago, or was it 2 years ago when the love triangle of Billy, Paul and Todd was rearing its ugly head for the best part of half a year?
So my question is, can we not have Todd and Paul together? Because I did a
Twitter poll.
And it hasn't finished yet, but at the moment I said, who's the best couple? Paul and Billy and Todd, or Todd and Paul, which we haven't had before, and more people voted for that. Got 37% for Paul and Billy and 24% for Billy and Todd.
Yeah,
and 39% for Todd and Paul.
Todd and Paul haven't got together before, have
Todd
they?
and Paul, I don't think would
so
work.
Maybe people are voting that just because it's something new.
For the fun of it.
So
Todd and Paul wouldn't work because I don't think they've got any chemistry at all, and I think that Todd's not smart enough Paul's not smart enough for Todd. Todd's very shallow. Billy's very intelligent, but he sees a sweetness and in Paul that I don't think Todd cares about. I don't think Todd's like into, oh, he's such a sweet soul. You know what I mean?
But I think that they've mellowed Todd out a little bit more recently. I don't think he's quite as devious as he used to be, and I think he probably would settle for Paul if the storyline called for it.
There's a difference between being devious and being so like just going for someone who's derpy. For the best player in the world, that's what Paul is. He's a bit derpy, isn't he?
Todd just seems to kind of be floating around at the moment and sort of only being good for being the second half of the Undertaker's double act. He for me, he's not. He needs to break away from the whole setup and have a proper story that is literally nothing to do with Paul or Eileen or Billy or anyone like that.
What about
He's not as strong a character as he used to be.
a polygamous relationship between Billy, Paul and Todd?
They're just so desperate for something to happen there, aren't they? But I just don't find the chemistry or the romance or the spark or the interest or anything with any of them.
I think there is not very much chemistry between Billy and Paul, but there was a lot between Billy and old Todd.
There was an awful lot between Billy and old Todd.
I think there's still a bit more. There's still some left between Billy and Todd, new Todd.
If I had to have any combination of the two of them, if I absolutely had to, then Billy and Todd would definitely be...
Yeah, that's my winning combination.
Yeah.
But that's the one that got the least in our poll.
I know, 24% have voted that
because
one.
I think people they know that Todd's no good for Billy.
That's true. But I would also, and I've said before, not say no to Billy and Sean. You know, go back to exactly how it was back in the day when those two were together.
That
could work.
I need a big notice board and some string.
This is the problem when you've got only a small number of gay characters in the programme.
Well, there's a lot more than there.
And the programme is about relationships.
Yeah, I know.
There's only so many different combinations that you can have. It's just it doesn't do anything for me, unfortunately. And I got a horrible feeling that this is just the very beginning of a resurgence of this whole gay Weatherfield washing machine. Really, what have you got a feeling of?
I've got a feeling that Mike's gay.
Do you think he might be?
I think that's why him and Esther never had a baby, because they couldn't work out how to do it.
Well, I think he managed to do it quite well with Ava. Did manage to get a baby out of it.
Okay, right, I'll come back to you on that one.
Right, let's move on. Did anyone find this story interesting? Is anyone gagging to find out what's happening in the latest adventures of Paul and Billy and Todd? Seriously, it's dull, isn't it?
I want to know what Summer thinks.
Speaking of boring, Zidane is up next.
Oh no, you're being so...
Sorry, it was dull.
Cynical.
I'm
going to give this week 5 out of 5.
I said it. No, you're not.
Oh, I am.
I'm just kind of going back on everything I said on the Street Talk Shorts. This is a dull week.
It wasn't. It wasn't.
It really was.
It wasn't.
So Zidane's story for this week, and Alya as well. Bloody Saint Alya. Mrs. Oh yeah. I think I can make it into work.
Bloody part-time.
I've been in a bomb and I've been stabbed, but yeah, I can definitely go back to... Yeah, that was the thing today. She literally went... Did she get a job back on Monday or something, was it? And on by Friday's episode, they're saying, are you sure you don't want to have your birthday off, love?
They're like, don't come in, we don't need you. You're literally
you've done
worse than useless.
a full day's work.
But, you know, I mean, we got a woman here, Dee Dee, who literally can't file paperwork correctly, but you're more of a liability. She's like, what have you done so far? You tried to help Stu get off, and you the way you did that was by looking at bits of paper going, I don't get it. And then you've come in and you've put flowers in a bucket, and that's all you've done.
Nothing to suggest that she is a great whatever it is that she's supposed to be
what's
doing
her job?
there. I don't even know, but she's apparently very, very good at it, but we've not seen any of it. But you know, by the time she's worked there for one day, they're already sick of her
get out, you're
whinging on
really
about being stabbed. So they're trying to get rid of her for her birthday. Anyway, so she gets a visit from Dee Dee on Monday, does Alya, and she says, I really want you to come back to work. We all miss your cheery disposition. And Alya says, I've been stabbed. I'm not quite ready yet. And Dee Dee says, look, just. Let's talk about this victim statement for the trial you've been asked to write. And I remember watching that, you made some comment about writing a victim statement for her entire life, which is a lot more apt.
Yeah.
Oh, my boyfriend Luke was stabbed. Oh, that was so tragic. Oh, my dad was burned in Victoria Court file. But don't worry, I'm fine, everybody. I'm a fighter. I'm Alya.
Dee Dee's like, have you got a pen there? She
doesn't write this victim statement in the end, does she? Because I think that gets
She's
brought
like,
up
it's
in
to take me
Max's
too
trial.
long to list everything.
Anyway, Zidane comes in. He's back now, apparently.
He went away. He came back for Christmas. In November, he went away again. Now he's back again. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Like, hello, Zidane. You've been away for so long.
This is what we've spoken about loads of times on Coronation Street with some characters where they insist on telling us that they've gone and come back when we really don't care or have even noticed.
Well, this whole week, and I'm kind of hoping here, seemed to just be a storyline building up to Zidane leaving.
Yeah,
I really don't know whether Zidane's left. And
why
I've not
did
seen
they
anything on
bother?
social media about it, but literally they could have just not had him come back this week and that would have saved us all a lot of bother.
Are there Zidane fans?
Probably are Zidane fans out there. I had been a
Everyone
Zidane
hated
fan.
him when the Rana and Kate storyline was
I know, and I felt really bad for him,
defended
but he's
him.
been a massive grump in his recent
Just a
stint on the
miserable
show. So yeah, anyway. So Zidane finds out from Yasmin that things aren't looking good at Speed Dial, and Yasmin's turned down the heating and everything because she's worried about the overheads, and there's only 2 customers booked in for lunch and everything. Oh dear. So he's like, oh, and I need to stay here in Weatherfield to help out me nan. And then Dee Dee sees Zidane in the street, and she says, can you check on an Alya? And this is when he finds out about this witness statement that she's supposed to be writing, that he doesn't know anything about. And as he heads off, he gets this mysterious phone call saying, I know, I'm sorry, my sister's in a bad way, the restaurant's in a mess, we'll talk about it, I promise. A little bit of a mystery going on there. Turns out it was just Mariam anyway, we find out on Wednesday's episode, so I'm glad that they didn't string that out for any longer. So Yasmin and Zidane have fallen over themselves to look after Alya at the end of the episode, and he's ignoring another phone call. And Alya gets fed up with all this fussing and says, right, I'm going back to find Dee Dee and tell her that I want to come back to work again. I'm fine. So Wednesday rolls round, and Alya is being very martyrish about, oh no, don't worry, I don't need a big do for my 30th birthday, just quiet family meal will be just fine for me, Alya. I just want to take it easy.
I know, but if my family said to me, oh, do you want us to cook you a restaurant standard meal in a restaurant or at your house where you can lounge around in your pyjamas and eat it with your with your tie undone so that you've got as much room as possible to expand, I'd be like, I'll have it at home.
I know. Do you want to go to your place of work for your birthday party?
Yeah.
They're not offering to take her to the bistro.
They're not like going, oh, we'll get you some pizzas in, are they?
So anyway, there's a ring at the door, and it is Mariam, Zidane's ex-wife. Did they get a divorce? I can't remember. But she doesn't look happy.
No, she's mad.
Because it seems that in the interim period when Zidane's been away in London, he's told her all about watching her dad die, Hashim, the drugs launderer, on the floor of a heart attack year and a half or so ago. And unsurprisingly, she's not very pleased with him about this. Although she manages to cool off pretty quickly as the week goes on.
She's not cool about it like John and his granddad.
No.
With
No.
with Emma.
She's like,
But
no,
I don't mind. I never liked
get away with watching my dad die, actually. And he says, look, don't go to the police. Don't get Alya involved and everything. I don't want her knowing that you know about it. And she says, oh, well, I could go to the police, but that would be far too much drama and excitement for this storyline. And it's not going to get Hashim back anyway. So I'm not. I still fancy you, Zidane.
It's something about
maybe we can get past this.
The way your hair has been cut with a ruler.
Come back to London with me. And Alya catches up with Zidane later, and she wanted to know what Mariam wanted, and he says, oh, well, things have started up between us again when we were down in London, but I ended it. But Alya, one thing I can definitely promise you is that she will definitely 100% never find out that we watched her dad die. Alya finds Mariam in the cafe later, and Mariam says, I know you watched my dad die. So... How? Well, Zidane told her, didn't he? And Alya's like, oh, sorry about that. I don't know what came over me. I hate being the thing that's coming between you and Zidane getting back together. And Mariam says, well, Zidane's made his choice. Oh my gosh, this is so bloody boring. Zidane finds Alya in the cafe later, and she's seemingly not fussed about Mariam knowing about Hashim anymore. She says, well, glad that's out in the open. You should go back to London and try again with her. But he's like, no, I need to look after you. And everyone's like, no, Zidane, you really, really don't. So later on, Zidane finds that Alya's back working at Speed Dial again. He's a bit worried about her, but Yasmin says, oh, this Alya is more resilient than she looks. Maybe she's turning a corner. And Alya's there serving away, bringing up the curries and everything. But she's also turns away and gives a weary smile to the side, a weary sigh, to the side to show that she really is still suffering. Zidane catches Alya at the end of the day and she says, you and Mariam are meant to be together. And he says, no, we're not. I'm staying in Weatherfield for the family's sake. You need me. And Alya says, no, grab your chance of happiness with Mariam. Friday. Nearly there. So Zidane's broadening his horizons at the beginning of the episode by baking a cake for Alya's 30th birthday. And because she's such a trooper, she's going into work today. All is well at number 6. So Adam and Dee are having a bit of a worry at work today because they don't really want Alya there. Not just because she's a massive bore, but there's somebody coming in called Jaden who they don't want her to see. And eventually they managed to fob her off and tell her to go home after the shocking news that Max has only got 10 months in prison. And what it turns out, Gemma, is that this bloke coming around is charged with a knife crime. And clearly that's far too much stress for Alya to deal with. And so they didn't want to inflict it upon her. So
well, she's useless then.
She goes home, she has a birthday tea, Mariam comes round and they say, let's go to London. Yes, fine, we're back together again. Hurrah, goodbye, I am Zidane, signing off. And that's the end of that. Anything to add, Gemma, there?
Nope.
So the plan is, I assume, for every time that there is a case related to one of Alya's many miseries in her life, that they're going to make herself scarce. Like, no bombing criminals being able to be defended here. Nobody getting shot. Nobody with any fight. Like, Alya has had so much trauma in her life that she kind of can't avoid it if she's working at a place to do with legal shenanigans.
Yeah. Her boyfriend was murdered by a serial killer. You're just not going to have any of them come round.
Yeah.
They're going to have to represent Stephen.
At some point, do you reckon? Anyway, so do you think that is it for Zidane?
I haven't seen anything to say that he's left, but I can't understand why he wouldn't have gone after this.
It felt, we've seen enough characters having their back of the taxi exits, and I know we didn't get exactly that, but the way that the cadence of the episode was going and everything felt like this really is it. Very, very pointless. And I think if they turn around and on Monday's episode something happens to make him stay, I'll be a little bit disappointed.
I just find it... It's one of those things where we would have moaned if it hadn't have happened, but it was just weird. Mariam bringing up, oh, you watched my dad die, but I'm over it now.
Yeah, that reminded me a little bit of when Grace came back a year ago saying, remember this dangling plot thread? And everyone's like, no, nobody really cared about it. Do you want to bring it up again?
There are loads of other things that are more important that have been completely forgotten about.
Yeah, there's lots of dangling plot threads, I'm sure. This was a weird one to bring up, and to have her go from, I can't believe you watched my dad die, to, oh well, let's try again. It literally was like John and Emma, wasn't it? Saying, and I know they didn't kill him or anything, but
he's like, I don't even like him. Don't even like him. He was a bum.
Yeah. Odd to bring that story back again, and probably a lot of people have kind of forgotten about it by now.
I forgot Zidane was in it when he came back at Christmas.
I know. Well, anyway, good luck to him. Let's is there one story left now? This is going to be like the shortest street talk we've done.
Well,
for ages. The Brian Packham storyline, Gemma.
Interesting.
More bloody filler.
No, what the hell is wrong with you?
It was, wasn't it?
I know, but I think you're not consistent with your criticisms.
No, I'm not. I don't.
One minute you're moaning that there's. Everyone knows. Everyone knows. I don't need to tell them.
Go on.
On Monday, Brian's electrics have gone. He has to move out. He lives above the salon, doesn't he? Or did he?
No. He lived above the cabin. He lives next door to
he
Rita.
lives near Rita.
He's got a conjoining door to Rita's flat.
Conjoining? Mary says, come sleep at number 11. So he's sorting everything out to take to number 11. And then as she's helping him with his stuff, she finds a review he wrote for the Gazette. And she's gutted because she thought all along that she was reviewed by some great expert who didn't know her on on thespian matters, but it turned out it was just her friend trying to make her feel better about herself.
That was all a bit weird, wasn't
She
it?
gets
Brian packing up all of his things to move out, and he's just got a box full of sombreros, nodding dogs, and theatre reviews, like all the
Well, it's kind of like when you get fired and you have to walk out with a plant in a box.
all the essentials for moving out.
So she has a hissy fit. She drops off. She's wailing. Brian tries to apologise to her, but she's like, "No, you can't stay with us anymore." So Amy says, "I've got an idea. You can come and stay with us, Brian, because we need somebody to pay the rent after Jacob's left the show." So on Wednesday, Brian's getting his feet right under the table. He's made a bread and butter pudding, and Amy's like, "I can't eat it because I'm allergic, and but I'll just have some nice chocolate. It's dairy free." And he says, "No, I've used that, and I also used the bread that you were going to use to make a sandwich, and I also took the money out of the jar to buy other ingredients." So he tries his best to make a good impression, but immediately flubs it. He comes back later with the money to put in the kitty, and Aaron's like, "Oh, your pudding's banging, Brian, brilliant." And Amy says, "I've got some friends coming around later," trying to hint he should make himself scarce, but he doesn't take the hint. And he's looking forward to meeting them, but he's got to do a stock take. Oh no. But when the team gather later, Brian's enchanted by their witty repartee and doesn't want to go, and lets Rita start the stock take without him. And he starts trying to get down with the kids, and he's just been a teacher and correcting them on grammar or something. Then he gets drunk with Aaron and falls asleep. And Summer thinks he's hopeless.
I don't know.
Summer's laughing, and Amy's. I actually thought Summer was tolerable in this scene.
Yeah.
Amy's not impressed, and because everyone's gone off because they were like scared off by this dozing middle-aged man on the sofa, and she says, "We're gonna have to get rid of him. So we're gonna have to try and get him back with Mary." So on Friday, Amy gets up to find Brian's in the kitchen, and he's labelled all the cupboards with like food, crockery, cleaning supplies. He's trying to organise a rota, and she's like, "I'm not having a rota in my house." She goes down to the flower shop and she tries to convince Mary to take Brian back on and let him stay with her, and he says, "Oh, he's always going on about you, Mary. He misses you and stuff." And it seems to work because Mary meets up with Brian in the cafe and says, "I'm sorry I overreacted." And then this was just, I was like, I feel like I've missed like 3 months worth of story to explain this, but she gives him a DNA test to trace his Mexican heritage.
He said something about this about his Mexican roots or something, didn't he? When he had that sombrero at the beginning. Is that just
like what they put into to like excuse the fact that he's culturally appropriating Mexican heritage?
Yeah.
Just the way that I culturally appropriate Manchester when I say Castlefield. So, back at the flat later, Amy tells Brian that we'll miss you when you move out, and he's like, "Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. I love you guys. I wouldn't want to move out now, and I've invited Mary for tea." And Amy's like, "Oh, good God, how great." I think this is quite fun, but it's a bit weird that she's living with her teacher, and she like literally. It's also quite weird that she didn't imagine there could be any pitfalls to this relationship. She's supposed to be she's like the smartest character on the street. Especially amongst the young ones, because she's actually knuckling down and doing her studies and stuff.
Yeah, you know what Brian's like, Amy. I can't remember whether he was her teacher or not, but I'm going to say
it's still
probably.
A bit weird that like as somebody who's kind of graduating out of education, that you'd. I mean, I find it's lame hanging around with this guy.
I do. Yeah. I guess Amy maybe didn't know which version of Brian that she was taking on. Was she taking on the kind of the sensible, educated, sensitive Brian, or was she taking on the buffoonish, the witness statement Brian, or was she taking on the buffoonish, annoying idiot Brian? And sadly, that's the one that she got. It was all right, The stuff about the bread and butter pudding, that scene I quite enjoyed.
I quite enjoyed that as well.
The bit where he was labelling her cupboards and everything. I was just thinking, no, you wouldn't do that.
No, I don't think you'd label cupboards, but I definitely think if I lived with a bunch of grotty teens, no offence, I'd immediately make a rota. And when we were students, we had rotas, didn't we? We had a phone book, you had to write down phone calls. We had a kitty for the groceries.
I think that he was being a little bit too forward. It was kind of, I guess it was a nice twist at the end that he didn't move out, but I can't see that he's going to stay there for
He's
any
not stay there for a long time.
length of time, because he does have a house to move back into at some point.
Yeah, it's electrics.
So I'm kind of all for
temporary
let's just
shenanigans.
temporary put them together and see what fun they can come out of it. But
Tell you who
I'm
else
always
was-
a little bit trepidatious if anything's involving Brian and Mary is happening.
Tell you who else was incredibly tolerable this week.
Aaron?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
our
was
new
actually
friend Aaron.
quite.
I
He
thought it
was
fun.
chill. I liked him getting drunk and hanging out with Brian. I think he showed he's very amiable and relaxed when Summer's not drooping from the knees down.
Yeah, I know. So it was all right, but
I thought it was a nice bit of waffle.
yeah,
Just like this
it was
podcast.
what it was. Yeah, and that's it.
Look, I think there were some good scenes this week. I liked Ruth first. He's such an arse, isn't he? With his lady and the LSD was an interesting twist. It goes to show you that Stephen's kind of just broken through it. Makes you wonder what he's been up to before we've seen him return, because he's obviously been up to no good for a long time, because he stole all the money off of Gabrielle to start with. So we can only imagine that he's actually been up to no good for years since the last time he was on the show. I think if you think about it like that, it makes a bit more sense as to why he's...
Yeah, maybe Leo wasn't his first body.
We don't know. He could have killed before.
He's probably got a whole load of other bodies bobbing around in the Venice canals.
I mean, it's a very interesting point, isn't it? To consider, how has he got to this stage? Anyway, I like that. I liked, I'm not a massive, romance isn't my thing, so I don't really care what happens between Paul, Sean and
romance is
Todd
absolutely
and-
my thing if it's a couple that I care about, but I couldn't care less about any of the gay dads.
I'd rather have
care less about Zidane and Marion.
I'd rather have Todd and Billy get back together, and I wonder also, whether that's gonna stir up any feelings there. I don't know why they bothered to bring Zidane back to show us that he's gone. It's like, it feels like a magician just trying to there's nobody in the box. Like we don't care. Throw the box in the bin.
And the Max thing, like I said, just was a means to an end, really. They had to have a sentencing at some point, and they had it, and it happened the way you kind of thought it might happen. He was never going to get 15 years. He's got a decent amount. It's a bit of a bit like when Faye went to prison for a bit the other year, wasn't it? Like, she's just away from the show for a bit.
Yeah, but is he going to be away from the show?
I don't know. I kind of hope not, because with everything else that was happening this week, Max's were the scenes where I was like, oh, that's good. It's a Max scene. Whereas a lot of the other characters, I was like, oh, it's a Zidane scene. Oh,
I just really think
Brian
that
scene.
Max is going to come out worse than he went in when he comes out of prison.
That'd be
He's going to be
interesting.
bullied by people who are going to pick on him.
Yeah. You want him to be doubled down on his.
He's going to be
terrorist
like, well,
ways.
I'm only in here because of that stupid bunch of people and Darian. I'm going to get my revenge on him.
Okay, right. It's time to score the week already. Then, I think I'm gonna say 2 cold bowls of sick out of 5.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Is it vegan?
Yeah. It's got carrots and peas floating about it and
Sick
everything.
cannot be vegan by its very nature.
I was gonna give this one higher. I was going as the week was going earlier on, I was thinking maybe this is like a 3 or even maybe a 2.5. But just discussing it this evening has made me see that there's...
but you're grumpy and
I'm a little bit grumpy and tired.
You're tired and you had too
But
much work to do today.
I've made my score. 2
Wow.
cold bowls of sick out of 5. What about you?
I'm going to give it 3.5. Carla's frozen.
3.5? 3.5.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm trying to balance out your misery.
No, go on then.
I'm going to give it 3.5 Carla's frozen nips.
How does she?
I can't believe she said that on
Can't
a
believe she said
family
frozen
TV show.
I know.
Before the watershed, I don't want to think about nipples.
Okay. Character of the week then. I mean, Mariam's in for a shot for getting rid of getting Zidane off our hands, but I don't think I can really give it to her.
She's very pretty. I feel bad. I wanted, she could have had a bit more of an interesting role, couldn't she? But yeah, just babysitting Zidane in London is all she's good for, apparently.
So who else? Peter, we hearties.
Stephen.
He was alright.
Stephen's in his shenanigans. Can't endorse drugging people. It's bad. Not Sarah, not Michael, not Carla.
It's
not
slim
Adam.
pickings this week. It really, really is. Like, I really like Abby, and she was in a couple of scenes this week.
Abby
and
was
she did have my
great
line of the
just
week.
for that funny line.
But then also,
And then she also stopped Carla tried to stop Carla from driving. That was good of her.
yeah, Amy.
Amy
She's
was
alright.
Amy was alright. Yeah, she's had nice nail varnish. If that
I
counts
think-
towards anything.
I think I might give it to Amy, just because out of the other main characters in the other stories, there was either something that I found boring or reprehensible about them, and Amy was fine. She was just trying to keep the peace, and I like Amy.
It's
so
not
there
her
we go.
fault that she's
Amy Barlow's my character of the week.
lactose intolerant.
What about you?
I'm going to give it to Abby because I like her. I'm glad to see her
What?
back on the show. I just think she was funny and she was heroic. She tried to stop Carla from killing herself.
She did. Okay. Well, that's it then. A very short street talk.